You're listening to the AmWritingFantasy podcast. In today's publishing landscape, you can reach fans all over the world. Query letters are a thing of the past. You don't even need a literary agent. There is nothing standing in the way of making a living from writing. Join two best-selling authors who have self-published more than 20 books between them. Now, on to the show with your hosts, Autumn Burt and Jesper Schmidt.
Hello, I'm Jesper.
And I'm Autumn.
This is episode 128 of the AmWritingFantasy podcast, and we are going to have some fun today as we share the top 10 worst things you could ever do to a character. And as usual, we'll have to vote on who won by creating the best or the worst list, so to speak. So I think it's the worst list we should call it, isn't it?
I think it has become the worst list, so I can put on the worst thing that we can do to characters. That makes sense in a way.
Yeah, I think this should be interesting.
It should, and I have a total confession to make. Is that I've had a very busy week, and my husband had recently gotten his second vaccination, and he had a bit of a reaction and was not doing so well. And it was this morning I opened up, thank goodness I was doing my homework, and I opened up Asana, our little checklist, to look to see what the topic was, and I said, oh crap, I've got to come up with a list. So I feel like I did my homework right before class, but that doesn't mean it is not awesome. I put in a lot of mind power to make this list very quickly.
I'm pretty sure my list is better than yours then.
You always have that confidence, so we will see.
It's like fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah, that's right. But that's just it. You can't rattle my cage. I am completely confident in what my abilities here. So I have done some horrible things to characters. I'm good with this.
Okay. Well, I might have a few surprises, but I am looking forward to see what you came up with on the fly, which of course cannot be as good as But on the other hand, I have to say, if what you came up with on the fly is better than the stuff that I really thought about, then it's not good for me.
No, that's true. I might have to give you this one. We'll have to see how it goes. I'm sure yours are very good.
Of course they are.
Of course. So how have things been over in Denmark?
Well, something crazy happened this last weekend.
Really? Just over the weekend?
Just over the weekend.
All right.
We went to a restaurant.
Really?
Yeah.
They're open? That's exciting.
Yeah. Who would know that something as ordinary as visiting a restaurant would suddenly feel that great?
Oh, you saw other people eating.
It was incredible. Well, the service was not good.
That's not right.
No,
I mean, a year and a half for going to a restaurant and the service is crappy.
Yeah, it was like the waitress. She was really nice and smiling and helpful and all that. So nothing wrong with that. But I think it was in the kitchen. But every single order got messed up. So we had to keep sending stuff back. It was a sushi restaurant, so we had to keep, and they make it on order. Yeah. So we kept sending stuff back, and then we had to wait another 20 minutes until they made what they were supposed to make in the first place. At the end, we could have actually eaten a bit more, but we just got like, I'm fed up now. I don't want to wait another 20 minutes on another wrong order. So in the end, we just left. But it was still good. We still went to the restaurant. So that's pretty cool.
And I'm jealous. I love sushi. I'm actually planning my husband's going away soon for a training. I might be gone as much as 3 weeks. I'm going to miss him like crazy. But I'm thinking he's not as big of a sushi fan as I am. So I'm thinking of maybe learning to make some sushi while he's gone. Because the selections here in Vermont, for some reason, it's not a good sushi selection. It's like California roll, and that's it.
Okay. Well, I absolutely love sushi. It's one of my favorites, to be honest.
Well, when I come over, we are going to a sushi restaurant then, because I can't wait. That'd be so awesome.
Yes, and this local restaurant here, it's all-you-can-eat sushi. So you just keep ordering.
That is fantastic. Okay, I'm going to fly to Denmark to get sushi. That doesn't make any sense. Sure, it's a funny world.
Yeah. But I think other than that, in writing news, I'm just putting the finishing touches on the outline for book 2 in our new series. So I'm hoping to send you that file tomorrow, Autumn.
I cannot wait to see that. That'll be fantastic.
Yeah, then we can get into that. But what about you?
Oh, well, I can at least say the leaves have finally popped here, and it looks like spring, even though the weather's, actually kind of like light jacket weather. But it's sunny, and the birch or the beech trees are pollinating, and they have these little tufts of just like poof that are part of their pollen. So it kind of looks like all these little floating feathers through the forest. It's very magical and beautiful.
Nice. It sounds like a faith place.
It's me. Of course it is a very fade place. I would only live. All the jack-in-the-pulpits are up and the trillium are blooming, so it's beautiful. The ferns are popping. Though I have to say my editing, because I'm editing our first book one, and I'm trying to edit the last book of my Fae series, and it's a lot of editing, and I have to admit it's not going as spectacular as I'd like. I need more hours during the day, but I'm still
I can imagine,
pushing through. I might end up pushing back. This is, I guess, my first official worry announcement that I might end up pushing back the publication of my final book because I actually need another chapter, and it's just not where I want it to be. So I might have to do that.
That's understandable. You're editing 2 books at once, right? I mean, it's understandable. It's a bit much.
Yeah, especially some other jobs on the side and other things going on. So, and I get my second vaccination in a week or two. So once that happens, I'm after watching Adam go through his, I'm expecting to be down for a day. And my backup person, I was here for him, but he's going to be away from me. So it's just going to be me and the dog taking care of me.
The dog, yeah. The dog can bring you some rodents that it killed outside or something.
Yeah, he won't be making me tea and bringing me a hot water bottle at 2 a.m. like I did for my husband. So I'm expecting I might be down for a day or two. That's going to slow me down more, darn it. And I've been remember I'm partially deaf. I've been getting that diagnosed a little bit more and dialed in to see if there's something that could be done. But the appointments take time too, so it's been a month of lots of things going on.
Yeah, too busy.
A week on the internet with the AmWritingFantasy podcast.
Yeah, just talking about being too busy over the past few weeks, we've also been on a number of podcasts talking about world building, haven't we, Autumn?
We have. It's been so much fun. It's world building, and we've mostly been talking to role player games and game. Oh, so it's brought back some memories I have not thought of in probably 2 decades. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, we've been on the World Builders Weekly podcast, the Tabletop Totality, and the Game Mastery podcast. So it's been really fun, and I think also very different conversations compared to what we normally do on this podcast. So if you're interested, dear listener, we have added links to each of these interviews in the show notes. And then I would encourage you to go and check that out if you are interested. There's loads of world building tips in those interviews.
Yes, it was world building tips and some character tips and some writing tips, and just a shout out to all 3 of them because awesome podcasts, awesome hosts, and it was so much fun to be on there and getting to talk to them. It was as close as we can get to socialization in the last year.
Yeah. That's true, yes, and also, I mean, just the whole role-playing community there, and how enthusiastic they are about world building, and it makes it so much fun.
Oh, it was so much fun.
I really like that.
Yeah, I totally. It's like if it was more than my husband and I there's got to be like groups that do this via Zoom. It would just be so much fun to do again.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, but before we close out this section here, I also wanted to use the opportunity to thank everyone who left a rating and review over the last month of the AmWritingFantasy podcast, because we did have quite an uptake, and that is highly, highly appreciated.
Yes, thank you so much. It helps the podcast, helps people find us, and it makes us feel like loved, so we appreciate that.
Absolutely, yeah, because it's like helping other listeners when you leave a rating or a review, because then when people start typing in writing or something in their podcast app, then the podcast platform will actually show our show if it has some good ratings and enough reviews and so on. So, in other words, you're helping fellow podcast listeners. So if you haven't done so already, please don't stop now. Go on and to your podcast app and leave a rating and review. It only takes like a second, but it really helps a lot. So if you already did, thank you so much. And if you didn't, just pause the podcast here for 10 seconds and then leave the rating and review and then press play again.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And on to today's topic.
I must admit that at first this sounded really easy, but then when I got into it, I did start wondering what you would come up with, and then I just kept looking for something better. But then when you then said in the beginning that you hadn't really prepared that much, then I feel a bit better.
Oh, I'm glad that helped you. I'm sorry that I was competing with me. It was intimidating to you, apparently. So, I wanted to make this one easy for you.
Because people have been mean to me on YouTube comments and stuff like that, saying that Autumn always wins and stuff. So, yeah, I have to, I guess, up my game a bit. Well, I was really trying to prepare. And if I lose now, then I'm going to go and dig myself a hole outside or something.
Well, that'd be horrible. Well, hopefully you have prepared. I'm sure you're going to totally blow me out of the water. And you have to think of it. It's sad. I'm coming from the States. So whenever someone says, oh, you're going to win, I hope they're not saying that just because I'm the girl. So, I want to win honestly. And I did not work for this one. But it's funny. I started out by looking at this when I saw the topic going, I have no idea what to do. And I started coming up with some, and I did a little bit of reading and thinking about it. And I'm like, got this one down. So,
oh no. That's what I did not want you to say.
I felt intuitively this was my topic. Sorry.
Oh no.
So this will be fun.
Yeah, now I'm already feeling like maybe my list is not strong enough. I don't like it. You make me doubt myself.
I'm just helping you become a better at torturing your characters. I don't know. Is that the outcome we're hoping for?
Yeah, well, we'll see. At least I have 5 prepared, and I have ranked them as well. So number Excellent. 5 is the least bad, and then number 1 is the winner. That's gonna take all.
All right, maybe it will. We'll have to see. I have mine ranked, and they're ready to go. So who do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? Will that make you feel better? Do you want to go first and just totally amaze me?
I think I might. Well, the thing is that because it's a hard question, because with number 5 it feels like it's probably good to go first with number 5, because then you're putting a bit of pressure on the other one.
Right.
But then at number 1, I feel like it's better to be last, because then you can sort of finish it off on a big bang, right? They're like, this one is the best, and you finish off with that.
Ta-da.
So
you have to flip a coin.
What did we do last time? I think you started last time, didn't you?
I think I started last time, yeah.
Damn, then I have to go first.
Okay, your turn.
Okay.
All right.
Number 5, and of course, keep in mind that this is the least worst of the worst. So it's only going to get better.
All right.
So if you feel like this is not that bad, then it's going to get a lot better.
Okay. All right. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. So number 5, let's call this character Mr. B.
All right.
And you'll understand why in a moment.
Oh, jeez.
So Mr. B, he is very, very chatty.
Mm-hmm.
He is very outgoing. And in general, people really like him.
Mm-hmm.
However, and here it comes, he has like an involuntary habit. No, it's more than a habit. It's more like a compulsion. That every time he greets somebody, he has to burp the person in the face.
Oh, that's just mean. Oh, I would so smack him. Or I wouldn't be friends with him, that's for sure. I can imagine that at a party.
So he's very likable, but then he starts off really bad every single time.
Yes.
I feel like that would be a pretty bad thing to do to a character.
That would be really mean to do to a character. I have to, and you had me actually worried because funny true story is my husband likes to whistle. And it was probably 5 years into our marriage when I realized what he likes to whistle is Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf. I think I finally stopped. I'm like, I am putting that into a story someday because that is like the perfect serial killer. You have this nice guy, he's a good guy about town, but he whistles Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf, and somebody finally put that together. So, I was a little scared there that you secretly knew that.
I like that one. There was also, what was it? Was it in Kill Bill, or which one was it? Where there was also somebody who walked around whistling all the time. It was actually pretty cool. It was like, I think it was Kill Bill, wasn't it?
I think it might have been, but it's been a while. But yeah, that is definitely a very annoying and trait.
It's annoying, yes. It's not like the worst of the worst, but it was also number 5, so it's gonna be a lot worse for the characters here. But it's sort of it's not throwing you a softball, but it's more like a curveball, right?
Yes,
so it's a bit difficult, but not too hard.
Yes. See, I think it's interesting because you did this by literally creating a character perspective, and I did it more top level of, as a writer, the worst things you can do to your characters, because I just love doing mean things to my characters. I'm just mean that way. So you want to hear my number 5?
Okay.
All right. And this is, again, it gets worse from here, but I'm starting off pretty heavy hitting, and I'm just going to say killing off friends and family, especially in the first chapter of a book.
Like all his friends and all his family?
Doesn't have to be all of them. I mean, it could just be just the parents or just the siblings or just the friends, but just that trope. And I put that as my number 5 because that is like every Disney story ever.
Yeah.
And to me, it is so overdone. And that's why I put it at the first spot. But it is also so hugely impactful. To lose a family member or to lose a good friend. So that's why we put it there, because it is just like yipping out your heartstrings and you can relate to that, and it's horrible. But, we need to find something else to to do that with. So that's why that's my number 5.
Okay, well, it's a good start. It's a good start.
You.
But
you have to remember, I just kind of spontaneously made this list in like the process of an hour while cooking breakfast.
Well, that can't be an excuse. Either your list is good or it's bad. And no excuses about that. I was cooking breakfast while I was thinking about this, and while I was scrambling eggs, I was killing family members and stuff like that.
What a horrible breakfast. All right. Well, let's hear your number 4 then.
Okay. So number 4, I was actually thinking for a while if I should put some sort of torture on this list.
Okay.
But while that is a pretty terrible thing to do to a character, if you imagine that you're like in a dungeon and you're being tortured, it's probably, I mean, of course, unless you die, but then it's not mean to you anymore because then you're not alive. So if you do live, then you are going to escape at some point.
Right.
Or maybe you're going to be let free at some point, and then the torture stops. So it's like, I started thinking, can I make something that is worse, something you cannot escape?
Okay. Something you can't.
Can you guess what that could be, Autumn? What can you never ever escape?
Death?
Well, yeah, but if you're dead, then it's not mean to the character anymore because then he's dead.
Yeah, it
but
doesn't
other
feel
than
anything.
death.
Other than death, can't escape. Physical, harming someone physically, like losing an arm.
Can you not escape that? What kind of life are you living?
I don't know.
I cannot help it. Sorry, I hit you. I cannot help it.
Oh, jeez. Okay, so let's hear it. What is yours?
Well, you cannot escape sleep.
Oh, okay.
Huh? So every single time this character goes to sleep, he or she will have nightmares about their darkest fears.
Oh,
every time.
Very nice. I think that is
nice.
It's
bad.
Nice in the horrifying sense, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's pretty damn mean.
It is very mean,
and
it's actually kind of related to my number 4. Imagine that, us thinking along the same lines. Yeah.
That never happened before.
No, we've never come up with something similar. So you want to hear what my slightly related number 4 is?
Okay.
All right. So mine was, instead of not just sleep, but being stalked by a monster or a curse or a raving horde of insects or some such thing that hounds you so you can't sleep for fear of it catching you.
Oh, so you can't sleep. Okay.
You can't sleep. So, because if you sleep, it's going to catch you. Or that even when you're awake, maybe it's whispering dark visions or ideas to you. So you just, every time you want to sit down and relax or have a meal, it's just spurring you to always constantly feel like you have to run and be in motion. And then
you would be like a nervous wreck.
You would be totally. And I'm not saying that this might kind of have stemmed from maybe a trip my husband and I took to Labrador where the black flies were just torturous, that I was constantly wearing this black netting veil so that even when I was eating or cooking, I was like literally eating underneath this veil while walking and pacing and pacing.
Oh my god.
It nearly broke me. I'm pretty tolerable, but I was ready to get on a plane and go home. So insects are one of the worst torture you could ever do, but not letting someone sleep and having that constant, like the buzz, you know, they're there and they're trying to bite you, and it's just, you don't even need to have someone whispering to you. Just a horde of massive insects is enough to drive your character insane. So yeah, that's my number 4.
Yes. Yeah, well, true story as well related to that. You know it a bit already, Autumn, but the listeners don't know it. But true story as well. We were in a summer cottage in Finland, yes, in the middle of the forest, and there was this pond that was supposed to fill with water, but this particular summer it was so dry that it was just very, very shallow water in the pond, and it has been like sitting there for months, I guess. You know, just shallow water, no flow through, it was just like an isolated pond, right? So there was no current or anything changing the water. So it was like the best mosquito nest you can imagine in the world. And it was like, at this particular summer as well, just to make it worse, it was like the warmest that has ever been. We had like, in Celsius, I don't know what this is in Fahrenheit, but we had more than 30 degrees Celsius. So, and you're in the middle of a forest. There's no wind because you're in the forest, trees, right?
Yeah.
And then you're sitting inside this cabin, and it's incredibly hot.
Oh.
And as soon as we step outside the door, and I mean as soon as, within 1 second, you were completely covered in mosquitoes. They came from everywhere, like right at you, and it was the worst 2 weeks ever. Of a summer vacation. We sat inside this freaking cabin for 2 weeks, and just, it was like sitting inside an oven. We were just sitting in there cooking, and we couldn't go out because it was terrible. And then in the nighttime, when you could go out a bit, you were still gonna get bitten like 20 times, but at least you could go out. So we did go out a bit when it was night. But this was also the year why I got so annoyed with mosquito repellent creams and stuff like that. I was like, how are they allowed to sell this stuff when it doesn't work? You know, I just covered myself in it and it doesn't work. I'm still getting bitten. So what's the point? I don't understand. But anyway, that was a complete side note. But
it's okay.
Yeah.
No, that it actually made me realize that, you know, you're admitting my number 4 was awesome. So thank you.
I'm admitting your number 4 is really annoying, but I don't know if awesome is going too far.
Tomato, tomato. I have my interpretation. So, all right, what's your number 3?
Okay, so this is also about fears. So before we talked about having nightmares about their darkest fears in number 4. So now in number 3 with fears, I was thinking, what kind of fear would be really bad to suffer from? And there is, of course, loads to choose from. And some of them would really make the character unable to function in society. But then it came to me.
Oh,
are you ready for this one?
I guess. What is it?
What if the character is afraid of himself?
Oh, jeez. That's horrible.
What if you're afraid of yourself all the time?
Like, what?
How are you going to manage that?
Are you afraid that you're like insane or a deranged killer if you let yourself loose, or a ticking time bomb. I mean,
you're just afraid what you're gonna do next all the time.
Oh,
maybe you're gonna kill somebody. Maybe you're gonna hurt yourself. Maybe you're just gonna sabotage yourself. You're just afraid all the time of yourself.
That's just...
You cannot escape yourself.
No, you
That's
really
impossible.
It's a horrible, horrible torture for a character. How could you do that?
That was easy.
That was easy. All right. Well, that one is pretty... That would be... I'm trying to think of how it would be to write the book, like what the character arc would be. But let's not go there.
Actually, I don't know how to do that. I mean, it would be a bit like schizophrenic thing to read, like all the time, every chapter, the characters just running around in circles around themselves. I don't know.
Unless you find out, like, it was a fear implanted in him, and actually he's amazingly good or would do something wonderful. But yeah, we won't go there. So that would be a dark, dark story to read.
Yeah, I feel like it, yes.
Yes. All right. So my number 3 is to take away the talent that whatever the character is, that is really how they define themselves. So like a swordsman would lose their arm, or a mage would lose her magic, or using it would cause pain, or like an archer, or if it was a musician, like with a harp, would lose their fingers. And this would cause both psychological pain, which is good, but also physical pain, because you would obviously have gone through something traumatic to have this happen to you. And yeah, I will definitely say this one stemmed out of my own writing, because I definitely combined it with a character. I had that with memory loss because they were held captive by centuries. So I had a character that was caught, imprisoned, lost their memory because they were tortured, lost the ability to change their use of their magic. They were changed into a magical creature, and every time magic happened around them, it caused them physical pain once they were freed from their horrible, monstrous form. So it was a fun story to write for that. The character hates me still, but
Yeah, we also have another character in our joint book that has lost his memory.
Yes.
That's also quite fun.
It is quite fun. But I mean, to me, almost losing your memory is almost a salvation, because you don't remember the dark things. But to simply lose whatever it is, if you define yourself as this mage, or you're going to be this wonderful magic user, and you lost the ability to cast magic, or worse, it causes you physical pain when anyone else uses magic, you'd have to move on. That is definitely a character. You have to find something other way of defining yourself, or you're just going to be a horrible character, or to become the villain. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what is worst? Is it worse to lose your short-term memory or your long-term memory?
I think long-term, to me. I would not want to, because you, especially so many things you define yourself. It depends on if you had a really bad experience that you want to forget. But I think I could handle losing my short-term over my long-term.
So all the time when you're doing something, you're forgetting what you're doing?
That would be horrible. I don't want to lose my memory.
That's pretty annoying.
That better not be like the next one on your list.
No, it's not.
Right.
It's not. But I don't know if number 2... Well, I'm going to come back with a really annoying one in number 1, because number 2 might not... It might be one of my weaker ones now that I think. I think being afraid of yourself is worse than this one.
Okay, so you should have switched them. All right, I'll keep that in mind.
I should have switched them around.
I won't judge. It's fine.
I know you will.
It's my role here.
Yeah, okay, but I think we need some sort of fantasy curse for this one to work.
Okay. All
so imagine that we have like the most handsome prince or the fairest princess the world has ever seen.
Okay.
And then comes the wicked witch and lays a curse. Well, that sounds very cliche already. But don't judge a book by its cover. Well, we do.
That's right.
Yeah.
We do.
Okay, but this curse is different because of this character's very, very appealing looks. People are naturally drawn to them. But every time this character speaks to someone, they always end up either being rude or blurting out the person's secrets to everybody else.
Oh, that would be... I agree, that should have been your number 3, but that should
have been number 3, right?
Yes, it would be really a fun book to write. It'd be a fun character to have. I've had a few slightly insane characters that do similar sort of things. Yeah, because they're a little just touched, a little off, and they're so much fun to write though, because they just do whatever the heck they want, but I could see in this case maybe they don't want to and they're trying to control it. So this is like combining with a couple of yours, like fearing going to these like a ball where they're going to be the belle of it, and they're so terrified at what they're going to do to make it all go wrong, and they just can't stop themselves. So in that case, it would be actually a good number 2. That would just be the anxiety of it would be horrible.
It is horrible, but I'm not sure it's the worst thing you can do. I mean, well, okay. Imagine going through life that every time you talk to somebody, you're either being rude or telling their secrets. That is pretty nasty.
That is really mean.
I mean, you will not have very many friends.
No, it wouldn't matter how pretty you are. They would not be there to be your friends. And then if you had manipulative friends, they would only tell you secrets about themselves that would not be true and would make you look like an idiot. So.
Well, yeah, you could actually use it in like political games or whatnot. You could tell the person something, and then they will go and tell it to somebody else. And if the other person doesn't know that this person is, well, actually, no, that would work because the other person will know that this person always blurts out secrets, so they would think it's correct.
Exactly.
Ooh,
I can have fun with
master plotting.
I think I should win just for coming up with a good story idea with it.
No, that's not how the rules go. You can't change the rules in the middle of the game.
Why not?
Oh, I'm a referee because I say you can't.
That's right. Oh, shoot. You would be the referee. All right, so you're ready for my number 2?
I'm the one who can change the rules.
I disagree.
That's also in the rules that I'm the one who can change the rules. That's what the rules say.
I think I'm going to have to reevaluate my contract here. All right.
Okay, let's have your number 2.
My number 2 is to imprison a character, which we did talk about, but to not tell them what happened to their friends and family. Or possibly worse, telling them different things so they don't actually know which is the truth and what has happened to their friends and family. So sort of like just coming in and be like, oh, well, your wife is going to be executed tomorrow, or your children are slaves in the ice mines. And so this plays with this psychological, so they're in prison, they can't get out, and obviously they're in prison because they either lost a battle or they failed in some way. But so you have that psychological torture as well as being restrained, and to me there is nothing worse than not knowing what has happened to someone you care about, and have no way of knowing, and to have someone toying with your mind about what might be happening to them. I just think that is literally, I think, the worst thing I can imagine in this life, is to care deeply about someone and not knowing where they are and what's happened to them. It'd just be horrifying.
And just imagine if you're the guard or whoever it is that is telling this to you. How mean do you have to be able to do that to somebody? That's
just to toy with them and making up excuses, making up these stories about, oh yes, no, but this. Oh, did I tell you that? I actually meant this, and just the gut-wrenchingness of it. And eventually, no matter how heroic this character was, I think that would just wear them down, wear down their hope bit by bit, and losing that hope and just being devastated. I think that's my number 2, but that's about the worst thing I can imagine ever doing to a character, I have to say.
Okay. So you should have put it at number 1.
No, I have something else for number 1.
You just said it was the worst.
I know, but I have something else for number 1.
Oh my god. Well, okay. I have the absolutely best one for number 1.
All right, let's hear it.
This one is going to bring me the victory, and you'll have to admit it once you hear this one.
Well, I will only admit it if it is true and once I hear it.
It is true. So let me start out by asking you this.
Okay.
What is like the worst song you can think of? Like ever?
It's a Small World After All.
Okay. Well, so keep that in mind.
All right.
And I'm not saying that this one is going to be the most annoying song ever, but it's probably a bit close to it. But Let me just play you a very short sound clip to get you in the right mood here.
Oh, you would have a sound clip. Okay.
I've been forgotten, Joe. I've been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? I've been forgotten, Joe. I've been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
Over again. Let's stop that one. Okay, so imagine you have something like that playing in your head constantly, like forever. You can never stop it. It just goes on and 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 on forever.
That would be
Imagine that.
Well, considering I have some bad tinnitus, I do. I have that all the time. It's horrible.
But not Cotton Eye Joe or something, like over and over in a loop forever.
I almost think Cotton Eye Joe's better than tinnitus, honestly. I remember it's actually from a movie. I'll assume it's based on a novel because all good movies are based on novels. But it was about a Russian astronaut, or they're talking about it, and there was this moment where they're saying, the astronaut gets up there, and they're up there for in the space capsule, can't move around. It's one of the first space flights, and all they hear every few seconds is a bang. And you have that for weeks on end, and it's starting to drive this guy crazy, and he can't go anywhere, and he can't escape it. And the only way he could preserve his sanity was to embrace it and be like, every time I hear it, it means I'm still alive. It means the mission is still going on. So, I don't know, you would have to, just like with my tinnitus, it becomes this mental thing where at times you can actually block it out because it is just going on and on. I think it's actually worst if it changes. Because whenever things change, then you notice it again. So if you have just this weird random loop of sounds and gunfire, oh my god, I hate gunfire. So it's all these weird sounds that happen. I think that might even be worse than just the same song on repetition. Though I have to admit, It's a Small World after all, for 24 hours straight, might be enough to make me go insane. That might do it.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
It is pretty bad, I will say that. That would definitely be fingernails on a chalkboard, which would be one of the sounds you could use to drive someone insane.
Oh yeah, just on a loop.
Just on a loop. That's just so
eternal loop.
So is it if you make yourself go deaf, would you still hear it?
Yeah. It's in your head. You hear it all the time.
That's horrible.
Even when you sleep, it's going on.
Ugh.
Or when you're trying to sleep.
You're mean. I don't like that one.
Yeah.
All right, you want to hear my number one? Yeah, I know. It was the list of the worst things you could do to a character.
Yeah.
So you want my number one that is even worse than being tortured and not knowing what has happened to your loved ones?
Okay, what's that?
It is to not write the character's story. I think that is the worst thing you can do to a character, is to have this voice in your head that says, write this story, make me this fantastic character. And you just don't do it. I just think that's horrible.
Yeah, okay. That's a bit meta, I feel like. I feel like you're bending the rules. But I understand what you're saying, but...
I think I have elevated above the rules to a different plane of worseness.
Different plane of worseness, okay. You are so much inventing your own rules as you go.
I'm Faye. You think I play by anyone else's rules other than the ones I make up spontaneously?
No, I guess. But this is the same thing I sometimes say to my colleagues, that if we have a work meeting or something, it would be so much easier if I can bring my referee yellow and red cards into the session, and then you get a yellow card for that. Goodbye. That would be so much easier.
Well, do you really want to kick me off the podcast? Now think about that.
No. Well, okay. The yellow card is just a sin bin, so it's just you just get a timeout.
I could do a timeout for the rest of the podcast. Well, you would have to use a lot of timeouts for me for sure. I like my number one. I think it is the worst thing you could do. You have to tell your character story. If you have a character saying, write me, you need to do that. You need to go right.
Yeah, I still think mine's is worse.
The infinite loop of music. I still think it would be worse if it's changing sounds, but sound torture is pretty... It's used. It's pretty horrifying.
Yeah. So, okay, do we need people to tell us who won here? I feel like I won for sure this one.
You put in some really good ones, I have to say, but I'm going to leave it up to the listeners, so they should tell us.
You just won't concede, will you?
No, I will not, and they should
refuse to concede.
I do. They have to let me know if they think I broke the rules, or if I just simply, made a better set of rules.
I'm just afraid that they're going to say yes.
Well, I think I have won a lot of them, so maybe I will let you have this one, because you did do the work while not making breakfast.
Do the work. No, but then it just feels like a pity victory. I don't want a pity victory.
Then you're going to have to let the listeners decide. That's the only thing to do.
Okay, well... Dear listeners, let us know in the comments who won this stuff. And if you feel like writing that Autumn won, then just don't let us know. So I'll feel like if we don't get any comments, it's because I won. And if we do get comments, then it's also because I won.
That's cheating. I think you're making up the rules.
What do you mean?
Now.
I'm not making it. I'm just, okay, it's not a rule. It's just a recommendation. I'm just recommending people not to type if you wrote, if they think you won.
I see how it is. Well, I'm at least an honest enough person not to create personas to go in and leave comments to say that I won. I'll be nice. Though I have a wrap up for this one, because I was thinking, why in the world are we doing this for the podcast? But then I realized, in general, making characters suffer should do at least one of two, if not both of these. They should advance your plot, or they should deepen or reveal something about your character. So this is in a way, an inspiration list of, if you're really easy on your characters, or you feel like your plotting or your character arcs aren't going anywhere, review this list of 10 traits and see what you can do to help your characters go suffer a little bit and grow. The point is growing and overcoming these fears.
Okay, indeed. So next Monday, we are back to some more serious topics when we discuss some tools for authors, namely book sales trackers.
If you like what you just heard, there's a few things you can do to support the AmWritingFantasy podcast. Please tell a fellow author about the show and visit us at Apple Podcast and leave a rating and review. You can also join Autumn and Jesper on patreon.com/AmWritingFantasy. For as little as $1 a month, you'll get awesome rewards and keep the AmWritingFantasy podcast going. Stay safe out there and see you next Monday.